Hello everyone and welcome back to the 13 Nights of Magic, a series dedicated to the haunting tales of Magic the Gathering in celebration of this Halloween season. For tonight's episode, let's examine a creature who at first glance may appear cute and innocent, but is in fact one of the most evil known to her plane. Some fairies may be lovable sprites, tricksters with a good heart. Others have taught us that evil can come in any size. Fairies are small, winged humanoids, standing no taller than a foot in height. They're renowned for being great lovers of mischief and deceit. Although a majority of their angst tend to be harmless, some do enjoy more hazardous tricks. Fairies exist all throughout the multiverse, but the most notable of the race are those from Alara, Lorwyn, Ulgratha, and Dominaria. Their environment determines a lot of their behaviors. Those living in a more tranquil setting are less likely to be aggressive. The same can be said about their leadership. Fairies tend to mimic the behaviors of their queen, whether they be good or evil. This is certainly true when it comes to one of the most infamous fairies in all of Magic, the Queen of the Fae, on the plane of Lorwyn, Oona. To say Oona is merely the Queen of the Fairy on Lorwyn wouldn't do her justice. She is also their total creator, their great mother. Oona is comprised of the essence, which is the Fae species. Taking the form of a flower, Oona constantly buds and births new children. Oona is able to see the world through the eyes of all fairies on Lorwyn. This is probably why many of them share her personality. Like their queen, they live their lives in pursuit of gossip and amusing intrigues, while also being carelessly cruel and vindictive. Oona cherishes control over all else. Control over her children, control over information, and even control over dreams. As a race, the Fairy of Lorwyn do not dream naturally. This explains why so many hunt and steal the dreams of others. Fairies have a magic which allows them to manifest dreams into a physical dust, what they call dream stuff, allowing them to peer into the fantasies of others. As ageless as Oona is, she goes through spurts of mood changes. Something very dangerous when you're as powerful as the Queen of the Fairies. Oona uses her power to play with the very existence of Lorwyn, her favorite pastime being the disruption of the day-night cycle on the plane. Since the very beginning, Oona would alter the length of the days or nights on Lorwyn, depending on her mood, with some days and nights lasting centuries. Yet this power has a consequence. Should night fall for too long, it can usher in an event known as the Great Aurora. The Great Aurora changes Lorwyn and all those who call this plane home. The night comes and brings with it a great many evils, even the plane itself takes on an aggressive personality when this happens. The world is completely altered and thus, we call it by a different name, Shadowmoor. Oona has ushered in this change many times over the centuries, but during the events which took place in the Lorwyn block, the Great Aurora came early. As a result of the mending happening far off in the multiverse, the Great Aurora was coming sooner than intended. For years, Oona was able to properly prepare for this change by implanting her memories into a copy of herself, sparing her and all of her children from the effects of the Great Aurora. Queen Oona feared that if she ever went under the effects of this change, she would lose her rule as queen and lack the ability to bring back the day. Since this Aurora was coming early, Oona had to improvise, using the soul of another to serve as her double. She killed an elf named Marlene, and implanted her memories into this clone she created to look like the elf. As the Great Aurora fell and the day faded to night, Shadowmoor arrived. The creatures of the plane became blood-crazed and vicious, while others turned cold and selfish. Yet Oona and her kin remained the same, thanks to the memories she had stored in this elfish clone. During this long night, Oona sought to increase her power and influence over the plane. She wanted to steal the power of elementals, native to her plane, in order to use their magic herself, but her plans were interrupted. Somehow, the elf she was using to store her memories, Malaren, gained a consciousness of her own. Although she was the split essence of Oona, her twin, the elf managed to disobey her creator and went to strike a path of her own. Marilyn had access to all of Oona's memories, and she was able to see all the terrible things the Queen had done during her long reign. She saw the coming of night and terror, the killing of innocents, and the corruption of an entire world, all because she wanted control. Marlin also had the knowledge of what Oona was planning next, and she intended on stopping her. Oona's journey for more power was first thwarted by Marlin, who was able to take the power of the elements for herself. This power would have allowed Oona to secure her memories and power through the Great Auroras, but now Marlin had that power instead. Betrayed, Oona flew off to the elvish city of Carulas, the capital city of the Whitleaf Elves. Once there, Oona took control over the elves' king and queen, using her magic to manipulate their actions. Meanwhile, Marlin was revealed to be the twin of Oona, but she convinced many that she was nothing like her other half. With the power of Oona but the heart of Marlin, she was able to gain loyalty of many of Oona's kin. While Marlin was building her own army, Oona was still seeking great power. Using the king and queen of the Whitleaf Elves, she ushered in a destruction greater than the plane had ever seen before. Every elf in the city was instructed to go to the same location, and once there, Oona killed every denizen. As death flowed all around her, Oona soaked in the magical essence which was spilled from their bodies. Using the king and queen as a conductor for the power, Oona now had enough magical strength to oppose any challenger, even her twin. While Oona had strength, Marlin had friends, and the two forces would finally meet for a final confrontation for the plane. As Oona rebels and loyalists fought one another, Marlin challenged Oona to face her in single combat. With her newfound strength, Oona was sure she would be triumphant. But Oona was not prepared to face against the friends Marlin had made during her campaign. A survivor of the Whitleaf Massacre, who had become friends with Marlin, sacrificed himself in order to sever the link between Oona and his king and queen. With the link shattered, Oona lost a majority of the strength she had been leeching from them. In her weakened state, she was no match for the combined efforts of Marlin and her allies. Oona died as the sun rose and brought Lorwyn back with it. From there, Marlin, who was still part of Oona, became Queen of the Faeries, promising to use her power to restore the shattered day and night cycle to the plane. Oona was a powerful being who wielded control as if it was her plaything. She was willing to sacrifice hundreds of lives and even the plane itself to achieve her goals. She messed with the nature of the world, disregarding the consequences it may have brought, and that ultimately ended her evil reign. And that, my friends, was the story of the fairies and their queen, Oona. As a part of my 13 Nights of Magic special, with this video I'll also be giving away a copy of the Fae Queen herself. She's a strong flyer who creates more fairies and consumes the dreams of others. To enter for your chance to win this card, all you have to do is be a subscriber to the channel and leave a comment on this video. At the end of this 13 video series, I'll select a winner and announce them in a special video. Remember, each one of these 13 Nights of Magic offers you a new chance to win a different card, so stay tuned to see what other Monsters of Magic are offered this October. This series and all its giveaways are brought to you by my sponsors over at abugames.com. abugames.com is a leading online store for all things Magic the Gathering, and I really recommend you guys checking them out. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please consider throwing in a like and share it with your friends. It goes a long way in supporting future content. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next Night of Magic.